The engine is starting up.
For launch. GC, go. Guidance, go. Fido, go. Prop, go. GNC, go. Max, go. Eagle, go. Ecom,
go. Pending final steps. The cabin link check.
3, 2, 1.
Is there anyone here that would like to communicate with us? Can you give us a sign?
Welcome to the Rift Nation Network, the RNN, putting a slide in your glide and a dip in your hip. Welcome to the mothership, the home of the travelers of the universe. With shows throughout the week, you can find us at Instagram, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, and more. Everything you could want, everything you can need right here, right now. From the paranormal to the supernatural. From comedy to the spiritual. And now, your featured show. Shall we begin?
It's showtime, folks!
Podcast may contain material that some listeners may find sensitive, offensive, or disturbing. We strive to create respectful and informative content, but topics discussed may include mature themes such as violence, explicit language, or controversial subjects, triggering content including discussions related to mental health, trauma, or other sensitive issues, explicit language. Occasionally, our guests or hosts may use strong language. While we aim to handle these topics with care and empathy, we encourage listeners to exercise discretion. If you find any content distressing, consider skipping or seeking support. Remember that this podcast is not a substitute for professional advice. If you need assistance, please consult a qualified expert.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to Mysteries Beyond the Scenes, streaming live from the Rift Nation Network on this lovely Wednesday evening. I'm your host, Joni Skinner, and we have such an interesting show tonight. I know it's usually true crime and cases, but last week, we had a lot of transitions of famous people. And I had a lot of questions from people regarding those. So I thought, let's look at their natal charts and their lives. And let's see what was happening on the day that they did transition or pass away. Do we have patterns? Of course we have patterns. Yes, we have patterns. Do we have patterns? What's the most interesting about doing natal charts? Do we have patterns on famous people? Absolutely. Wait until you see the patterns. I'm going to show them to you. Do we have patterns on psychic ability? Yes, we have markers. Are there patterns on wealth? Yes. It's all laid out. A natal chart is a roadmap. And with forensic astrology, we use what we call event charts, more on a different level of astrology where we map and look at the event that occurred as to where a natal chart is the chart that we use, that astrologers use on the day that you're born. So it's what the planets are doing at the exact time of your birth. It gives us a roadmap to your life for this incarnation. So there are many studies of astrology, but I thought, oh, this is so fascinating. So we're going to take a look at everybody's chart and their natal charts. It's just fascinating stuff. And of course, we've been talking about an earthquake now since July the 7th, since Uranus moved into Gemini. But the one that hit yesterday was like the Moab of all earthquakes. We knew it was coming. We just didn't know when. I'm just so grateful that the damage that it did do, because this was like a monster earthquake, one of the biggest ever recorded. Thank goodness there was damage, but I don't believe there was any loss of life, which is just phenomenal. I watched a lot of it with Hawaii. And Hawaii, there's so many mountains to go to, on Oahu, on the Big Island. But the traffic was so horrible. So Hawaii's so beautiful. I'm grateful that everybody got out safely, that boy, they had it together too. I don't know if y'all watched it. When all these occurrences happen, I jump on YouTube because streamers are streaming it live. So we get up more information and up to date play by play with boots on the ground when you stream like tsunamis live, or you're streaming it live. They get people that are right there. But we knew it was coming. Let's hope that Uranus got it out of its system and that things will start to calm down a tad. They should. We have 4 planets in retrograde, so in August. So we really should, after Uranus switched and did the big switch, August, I'm not going to say is not busy, because it is. We've got these patterns till about November. Actually, we've got him to about 2029, but we'll be used to it. We'll be used to the craziness by then. So welcome, you guys. Welcome to Rift Nation Network. We are streaming live on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and Rumble. So thank you, Rumble, for tuning in. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hello, chat. Just a shout out to our lovely friends on the chat. Miss Lee, Miss Ruru. How are you, Miss Rue? And Miss Tammy, and our friends up north, Miss Denise and Cindy and Kathy. I hope y'all are doing well for this lovely Wednesday. Getting through our heat waves, aren't we, kids? Hi, Miss Linda. How are you, hun? Hope everybody's getting through the summer. You know what, you guys? I went to Dollar General, and they have their Halloween stuff out already. Halloween is out. Christmas is out at Hobby Lobby. All the Christmas stuff is out. It's crazy. But I don't know if you all have noticed how fast this year has gone. If we look at the astrology, we moved out of what we call earth signs and water signs, which are relatively slower type of an energy. We're moving into fire and air. Fire and air is going to speed up everything, like we're on monster drinks. So it's just a little bit of a shift that we need to get adjusted to. So we'll get through it. We always do. Hi, Miss Peggy. How are you? So let's take a look at the charts. I think you guys are going to really find this fascinating. I love to look at famous people's natal charts. If you all recall, when we did I have a little private group called Astrology, the series, on Facebook. Please, you're welcome to join if you're interested in astrology. It's our private chat group. In the winter, we do what I call a mini session via Zoom once a month in the winter. So we get on Zoom and we will talk about anything astrology, whatever, usually what the group would like to look at: natal charts, lunar nodes. We will pick a certain topic, interpreting the natal chart. We go over that. we did synastry, which is when you combine a partner's chart with your chart to see if you all are compatible. Do you guys remember we looked at Harry and Meghan's charts and wanted to look at how compatible they were together? And I remember looking at the chart and we talked about, do you guys remember? And I'm like, what is this with money issues with these kids? What is going on? They've got a ton of money, but I forget if it was Harry's chart or her chart. Somebody was going to be going through some really rough money times this year. And I heard today on a YouTube that I don't know if it's true or if it's gossipy, that things are pretty rocky with the marriage. And we saw that in the synastry and the money. So the astrology has been about 100% this year, spot on. It's been crazy. So let's look at it and wait till you see these charts. So welcome to Mysteries. Now, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger for you guys to see. Make it a little bit bigger. There we go. So what are the similarities? Are there similarities with star quality? Let's look at their natal charts. And we are going to also look at what are the north and south nodes. If you're not familiar with astrology, the north and south node, it looks like the little U with the two little balls on the end of it on your chart, like an N. An upside down N is the north node, the lunar north node. It is a place out in the ecliptic. It's an area. It's not a planet, not an asteroid. The north node is your destiny, what you came here to accomplish. South node is your karma, past lives. So whenever we look at, and you guys know we look at a lot of event charts, a lot of crime charts, the north and south nodes get triggered. And the word trigger, by what I mean by the word trigger, is activated. They get activated in a transitional chart. Everyone that I look at, I've never read that, but I've looked at enough charts to know that they do. So we're going to pay attention to all three of their lunar nodes. You're going to see it right away. And what are the similarities with star qualities? Because all three of these people, I would say, were mega superstars. We're very stars, big time stars. So let's take a look at, I did all three of the charts together to show you guys this. As you can tell, my circle doesn't really look too much like a circle, but it's purple, red, and blue. This is the three natal charts. Famous people always have, it never fails, a 10th and 11th house with a lot of planets, either stelliums, mostly stelliums, lots of planets, usually the sun, Mercury. Famous people have lit up 10th and 11th houses. Presidents, heads of countries. That's the 10th house. That's like a president, prime minister, a king. 10th house. 10th house is the public house. It's what the public sees. It's your job. It's your occupation. So if you take a look at all three of our folks, they all three have either a 10th or 11th house stelliums. Isn't that amazing already? So you've got Ozzy, Malcom Jamal, and who else? Hulk Hogan. So 10th, 11th house. And again, when we look at presidents, kings, heads of countries, 10th house. Career, up in the spotlight, what people see. So that's a star similarity. So if you have small children, say you look at your grandkids or your children's charts, and they have a lot of planets, either in the 10th or the 11th house, really be aware that that child may possess some very big star qualities. And I don't mean to push them like into, the theater or all that stuff, but if a child shows like musical interests at a young age, I would let them pursue whatever they did because that is a star quality for a child. So if I were looking at a child's chart and talking to the parents and there's a huge stellium in the 10th house, I would discuss that with them. Let them follow any dream they want. And also the 11th house. The 11th house can sometimes equate to which is your hopes and your dreams, your social circles, your friends, and what you've accomplished from the 10th house. So that's your dreams, living out your dreams. It's so that's interesting. That's an interesting little fact right there on all three of them. Hi Keith, got you shared out. Thank you, sir. I hope you're doing well, hun. No prob, you're late. That's okay. We're looking at Ozzy's chart, Hulk Hogan, and Malcom Jamal's chart. Natal charts, look at their lives and also look at their transitions. It's just fascinating. Now, of course, we all know the Prince of Darkness. Who doesn't? Who doesn't? Just a sad, very sad. Sad to the point, but I'm glad he's out of pain. He was in so much pain and very ill. But I don't think you're going to find, and at least in our lifetimes, the love story like what he had with Sharon. I know it was so volatile, but just the love that they shared. I mean, I just think it's almost like fairy tale. I don't think he would have been too easy to live with. He's a saint, but what talent! Just one of the best that we'll ever know. And so I want to show you guys some stuff in his chart that is just amazing. What a natal chart this man has. I was really impressed. Can you guys see that? I'll make it big. Let me try to get this as big as I can. Okay, so this is Ozzy's natal chart. He was born on December the 3rd, 1948 in England. Passed away on July 22nd, 2025. He is a go figure, always social, always laughing, always the fun guy, right? Always the fun guy. Sagittarius stellium up in his 11th house. 11th house of hopes, dreams, social circles, Sagittarius. They're fun. They're the life of the party. Of course he was. So I highlighted that in yellow with that stellium, the 10th and the 11th. Now, what is super important, where would his musical talent be? What is music in astrology? It's Venus. Look at that. Sure as can be. His Venus is located in his 10th house. Guess where it is? Scorpio. There's our Prince of Darkness. And it's got a wide trine to guess what? The shock factor, Uranus. And it's a wide trine. But the shock factor of Uranus, because he shocked everybody. He loved to shock everybody and be weird. Well, 5th house. Musicians, star athletes, dancers, 5th house. Because actually the 5th house, they're children at heart. They're living out their dreams. So, of course, we've got Uranus in the 5th. So that's the shock factor. Prince of Dark. Okay, I'll show you Prince of Darkness too. We also have Venus, the musical genius, and his stellium. So, so this incarnation, pretty much born to be a star. So what else is in his chart? I want to show you what's funny. His 12th house, what is hidden, but it's ruled by Capricorn. So Capricorn is earthy. Capricorn works their tails off. So he's got Mars in there. So his drive for greatness never stopped because it's Mars and Capricorn. It just didn't stop in the darkness. Okay. Jupiter, he's got Mars conjunct Jupiter, which just amplifies his drive. His moon is in Capricorn. So he did stay grounded. He would have had a very hard time showing his feelings, kept a lot of things in. But other than that, you can just see it's all over this wonderful chart. His rising is in Aquarius. So there you go with brilliance, before their time, futuristic. His chart is just phenomenal. It's a great chart. North Node, his lunar North Node was in the 4th house of Taurus. So he came here to learn how to be steady, secure, what you value in, guess where? The home. The home. If you recall, they had that reality show. They were one of the very first reality shows on TV in their home. So that's just kind of taking a little look at his natal chart. And for the astrologers out there, if you guys see anything else in his natal chart, just, put it in the chat, because just please do. So let's look at the night he made a transition. So we're going to look at the lunar nodes, okay? Look at the purple arrow, which is Pluto is on his ascendant. What is your ascendant? That's your physical body. Pluto transit, which is the green planets on the outside, or what was going around his natal chart at the time of his unaliving and talking to his natal chart, right? Pluto was in a very, very tight square. Squares are harsh, with his lunar North Node and his lunar South Node. We had a square of Pluto is at 2 degrees. His lunar nodes are at 4 degrees. So there's your marker right there. There's one of them. There's always a couple of them, okay? We also have Mars comes into play. I wonder if that last show that, when I was reading up on his information, it claimed that he never recuperated really from the show that he had put on, because it just took so much out of him. But, that's what he wanted to do. So Mars was conjunct Mars was transiting the South Node. It was, and that's the transit South Node. So Mars and the South Node were together at the time of his unaliving. That's a transit that was going on. Okay. What else did we see? I think that's about the nodes were just lit up. Pluto was conjunct Mercury. Okay. Pluto in his 7th house was conjunct Mercury. Now, what kind of a trigger would that be? I don't know. That would be relationships, love, partnerships. What else do we see on here? Does anybody? Oh, Chiron. Okay. Chiron up at the top in his 11th house was opposing transit Uranus, and they were both, Uranus was at 0 degrees going into his 5th house. And so it was opposing Chiron, his physical body. So when we look at stuff like this on a chart, we want to look at what Saturn is doing, what Pluto is doing, Chiron and Mars. And we can also look at Saturn. Saturn, I don't think was aspect. Let me look. I don't think so. No. But so isn't that fascinating? So I would have said, that Pluto hitting the ascendant, and he was already ill at the time, and I think it was just a situation where he could just check out. What a life, what a beautiful life, what a great star, But that is Ozzy's chart. Does anybody else want to have anything they want to add for Ozzy's chart? Yeah, Keith, Scorpio. But that's the Prince of Darkness stuff. I looked on his chart for all the Prince of Darkness stuff. Yeah, isn't that cool? Venus in the 10th in Scorpio is just phenomenal. That's really neat. Very, very cool. Very cool. And the South Node was up there too. So if anybody else has anything to say about Ozzy's chart, please chime in. So let's take a look at Malcolm Jamal Warner. Now, if any of you guys, of course, remember The Cosby Show, he was born on August 18th, 1970. He was an actor, musician, and poet. You know what has really impressed me about Malcolm Warner is he had a great career up to all through his adulthood and kept grounded as a very famous child star. Won awards. He was a director. He did a podcast. He he was in the theater. What a great young man. Now this is very tragic because of his age. Apparently now there are some reports that he saved his daughter, and that's how he drowned. But I think that it's kind of sketchy. There were several people that were caught in a very strong current. He was on vacation in Costa Rica, and he died at the age of 54 while swimming. Emergency responders were dispatched at 2:10 p.m. following reports of two adult men in the water having trouble and his daughter struggling. And people, one surfer used a board to bring his daughter to shore, and Warner and another man were assisted. He was pulled from the water by bystanders and received CPR and sent to the hospital and did not live through it. So that's a very, very sad story. No one knows the identity of his wife or his daughter. They were married in 2017. Wait, I think it says. They were married in 2017. They had a daughter in 2016 or 2017, but he kept them very, very private to keep them out of the spotlight. What a grounded young man. Very impressed by that. Very impressed. Look at him. Is he such a handsome boy, too? Okay, let's take a look at Malcolm's chart. Okay, first let's look at his natal chart. Again, we've got a 10th and 11th house packed. He's a Leo. You're going to see a lot of star Leos because that's the spotlight. They love drama. They're the stars. I always call them the stars. So people love Leos. He's got Sun and Mars are conjunct up in his 10th house of career, midheaven. If you see things up at the midheaven, especially a midheaven in Leo, another marker of stardom. Another marker of stardom. So he's a Leo. He's a Scorpio rising. And then his moon is in Pisces. I thought that was interesting as in the 5th. I don't know if this, I could just be saying this, but I thought it was interesting that this occurred in the ocean and his moon is in Pisces in the 5th house. And his north node of destiny is there. But what's odd about that is at a resort, at a place where he's enjoying life, what he loved to be doing. And I always use fixed star sheet. Sheet is always a drowning accident, shipwreck, things of that nature of an unaliving. So sheet, the North Node had just passed sheet, so I'm not quite too sure about sheet's role in this, but the North Node and the South Node transiting, or that would have made the South Node kind of opposing sheet and his moon. It's a stretch because they're pretty wide. But let's take a look. So that is his life. Very grounded young man. But we've got a fire sign, a water sign, 2 water signs. But he's got a lot of Leo and Virgo in there. Leo and Virgo. So South Node, North Node. What's funny is the North Node now transiting and South Node are both in Pisces Virgo axis too. So there's his star power. So let's take a look to see if the nodes, the lunar nodes, were what I call triggered or activated. Okay. Sure enough, let's see, North Node was squaring Uranus. North Node was squaring Uranus. Uranus it's accidents in the 8th house. So that, that's an accident. Mars was conjunct his South Node. Mars was conjunct South Node. South Node was square Uranus as well. So Pluto was also squaring his ascendant. Okay. Pluto was squaring his ascendant, which is, again, his physical body. Physical body, again, gets it. So I think right here, this one would have been, and we also have Neptune and Saturn in the 6th house. We also look at the 6th house is health. So they were in there. His Chiron is in his 6th house. So again, we've got Uranus triggering an accident. And there we go with the north and south node. Squaring. Does anybody else have anything for Jamal's chart? Again, we've got lunar nodes. I don't know if trigger is a good, I don't know if trigger is a good word or not. Trigger's kind of like a, I don't know, a kind of like a spooky word, where you get a little scared. But what's funny is Chiron, which is transiting, Chiron, which would have been his body transiting, was, let's see, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Really wasn't. Ooh, is that hidden Pluto? No. So I looked again. If anybody else sees anything in his chart, just speak up in the chat. This is fascinating, and you guys, please, don't be shy. Don't be shy. Our next chart is Hulk Hogan, and Hulk was born on August 11th, 1953. Look at this. There he is, Hulk Hogan. And we all know who Hulk Hogan is just a superstar. So Hulk Hogan was born August the 11th in 1953 in Augusta, Georgia. Now, at the time at the time of his transition, we all thought, oh my gosh, healthy, works out. Well, no, he wasn't. He suffered numerous health problems, particularly with his back. He had 30 surgeries, and he also had a procedure that failed to cure his back problems. Now, he just underwent all kinds of surgeries. He had just had a neck surgery, recovering from home with a neck surgery that in May, and he was, it was alleged that he was intubated due to complications from the neck surgery. He was also battling renal failure, fluid overload, and severe COPD, and complications from neck surgery. So, his body got shot from wrestling. So he was in a hospital bed apparently when he came home from the surgery. So let's take a look at his chart and see if the surgery shows up. First of all, look at this star quality on his natal chart. It is phenomenal. Look at his 10th house. 10th house star quality with the sun, his midheaven, Mars. Have you guys noticed that every one of these charts of the people that we have looked at, Mars plays so highly. Mars comes into play so much in their charts. Mars is the drive. Mars is the drive. That's what gets them there. The sun in Leo, Pluto in Leo, midheaven, Mars, and Mercury, all in Leo. I don't know if he was or not, Lois, but I'm not sure if he was a smoker. I know I'm sure used a lot of steroids, but I don't know. But it was back and neck and 30 surgeries, just failed surgeries. So we've got that. His ascendant is another Scorpio. So we've got a Leo Scorpio. His moon was in Virgo, which kept him grounded with his emotions, with just complete star quality. Okay. So let's take a look. First of all, up at where I've got, if you notice, I highlighted in the 7th house of Taurus. Taurus is neck. Okay. Uranus had just moved into Gemini. So he apparently was getting his neck surgery at the time. Uranus was squaring, at the time he had the surgery, Uranus was squaring that stellium in his 10th house. So I would never tell somebody to have surgery while a stellium is getting squared by Uranus, because you don't know what's going to happen. Anything can happen there with Uranus up there. It was squaring that entire 10th house. And then when Uranus moved into the 8th house, his heart. What is your heart? Your heart is ruled by Leo. Okay? Your heart is ruled by Leo. The sun was conjunct his south node at his transition. The sun was south node is loss. It can be loss. Up in his 10th house. Pluto again comes into play. If you look at the bottom of the chart where I put a big square around it, Pluto was exactly conjunct his south node or north node. North node, Pluto was conjunct his north node, opposing his south node and the sun at the time of his passing. Pluto was also squaring his ascendant, which is his physical body. So there's a lot going on in this chart. Uranus was also, when Uranus, at the time of his neck surgery, Uranus was opposing his ascendant, So it was also squaring that stellium, but it was opposing his physical body. I mean, it's all over this chart. I mean, this is just one of those charts that was just, you would just shake your head. But I love the star quality. And I mean, I think it is just absolutely fascinating. Lois says COPD, usually from chronic asthma or long-term smoking, emphysema. I wonder, can't imagine, Lois, him being a smoker with as much as he had to do all that wrestling stuff, the wrestling moves. I would think he would have to be just really at the physical top of his game, to be perfectly honest with you, for that. So it did say COPD. Yeah, chronic, yes, severe COPD. That's what it is, COPD. So God love his heart. Isn't that fascinating, you guys? That is their 3 charts. Where does anybody else see any kind of, what else do you see in these charts besides all the similarities where we've either got Pluto into play, the main thing, or the north and south nodes, Pluto, and they're squaring, and the ascendant comes into play. So the ascendant is the physical body. So it's very important, because the 12th house is hospitals, 6th house is health, but ascendant is your physical body. So when we look at a chart like this, you can just, it tells us the complete story out of all 3 of them. It gives us the complete rundown of what happened the time of their unaliving. It's quite fascinating. Like I said, Uranus was directly opposing that on that ascendant too, around the surgery. Never get surgery when you've got planets opposing or squaring. Never. Don't do it. I mean, you can just look at charts, one right after the other. That's a no for me. If I saw that on somebody's chart, I would say no. Just don't do it. Just don't do it. No, because it's a crap shot. That opposition, and especially if it's a transit, it's temporary. Just schedule the surgery when the planets are a lot more favorable, and never around a full moon, because you bleed more. So does anybody have any thoughts on this? I know I went through them pretty quickly, but I think it's just fascinating. If you guys, I mean, here are, and we have 3 different people. I mean, Hulk and Ozzy were born closer together, but Malcolm was a young man. But to look at all 3 of their charts, where we've got star power, we've got, Denise caught something. Let's see what Denise. Transit Chiron in opposition to the AC as well. There we go. And Chiron would be your healing, your or in an event chart, it can be physical injuries. So it is, Chiron is associated with your physical body. And so it was opposing his ascendant. So he was getting whacked, completely whacked. But I think it's just fascinating that you pull up 3 charts with, 3 different times of the year, 3 different, of course, birth years, 3 different areas, even different places in the world. And look how their charts have the similarities all, and they did pass all around at the same times, but how it interacts with their natal chart is, there's going to be a lot of course, the transits are going to be the same, but how it talks to your natal chart is very telling. So that's what I've got this week for you guys. I thought it was really fascinating. Does anybody have anything else they'd like to add? So that's how we can see different things that occur in somebody's natal chart. You know, that Venus up in the 10th house for him, that's telling as well in Scorpio. It's just fascinating. Fascinating. See what Hulk Hogan's North Node was in. I didn't pay attention to that. Oh, my bad. North Node was in Aquarius. So his South Node was in Leo. So, and when you have a South Node in Leo, those are people that in the past or past lives have been famous or kings or heads of state, leaders of countries, wealthy people, royalty. Leo is the sign of royalty. So his North Node, he was destined to really give to the collective, and he did that. You know, he appealed to the masses, to the collective. So it's a great chart. They all have wonderful charts, don't they? They all have wonderful natal charts. What wonderful people. So that's what I've got this week, you guys. Does anybody have any other comments? I know they're fascinating, aren't they, you guys? I know Lois is starting to study medical astrology so that she can master it and teach us, so that Lois can teach us. Lois's background with nursing would be wonderful with medical astrology. And I've also got another update because I get asked a lot about forensic astrology. And of course, you've heard Rue and I talk about Kirsty McIntosh, who taught us everything we know. We use Kirsty's method. She's from Australia. She's a master astrologer, but her expertise is in forensic astrology. She has written countless books. You know, her book is usually in my purse at all times. I use Kirsty's method down to the T. I don't alter it. I don't try to change it. I don't try to tweak it, because you don't tweak it when it's working. And it works beautifully and perfect. So Kirsty said she would love to teach a forensic astrology class to us in America. So I have to get with her this week to set up a time and a time frame, probably in the fall or the winter. And we have to get together because it's daytime there. So we're on two different clocks. In Australia, it's daytime, because it's getting night here. So what an honor to have Kirsty teach us forensic astrology. You would be getting taught from, and Rue can back me up on this, from the best in the world, the absolute master. This is such an honor that she would do this. I am stoked. Now, I will say this, and I haven't asked her this, but I will. She is also her expertise is forensic astrology. However, horary astrology, horary astrology is what she also is an expert at. So what is horary astrology? If you lose your keys, if you have a yes or no question, should I date this guy? Should I marry this guy? Am I going to have a baby this year? Any question you would ask. Should I take this job? Any type of a question that you would have. It's kind of like the tarot of astrology, and it's called horary astrology. What you do is, let's say, for example, I have a question. I think of the question. I look at the clock, and that is the time that we compose the chart. The chart will give us guidance on where did I lose my keys? Well, if we see the keys are in Taurus or Capricorn or an Earth, Virgo or an earth sign, we know it's lower to the ground. If it's in an air sign, it's up higher. If it's a water sign, it's going to be around something water, a sink, maybe a bathtub. So I'm going to see if maybe she would do like 2 classes. I'm going to push my luck. But God love her. She said she would love to. She is so kind. She is great. She is just a great person. And I am just, this has made my year to have her say yes to teaching a class for us. So if you're not in the group and you would still like to learn and do a class with her for forensic astrology, I will start to talk about it as soon as I get the date on my channel, because to have her do a class for us would be just, it's off the cuff. She has not taught for years. She really has not. Now she's got a group on Facebook. She does a lot of client work. She works a lot with the authorities. She's known throughout the world. So I know, it is so exciting, you guys. I cannot be any more excited. Lois is excited. And Denise, how cool. Yes, and she is just now coming out with her second book too. Her books are on Amazon. She's just coming out with her second book. So that's good news. That's exciting news for our group and our astrology. She's the best. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I mean, I think it's a little bit different, but again, they did all pass at the same time. I think we've kind of slowed down on that, haven't we? I haven't heard of anybody else transitioning that's famous this week. Let's hope that it was just Uranus sitting at 0 degrees or Neptune, Saturn retrograde. Who knows what it is? Who knows? It's crazy this year. So we're getting ready to head into eclipse season. I've got 2 cases for next week that I'm working on. We've got some weird cases going on with some people that are at large. Actually, the 2 cases, there was a couple that was on a trail, and they don't know if it was a hit or if it was just a random homicide. But they guarded their 2 children, and their 2 children were not unalived. So that person is on the loose. And another big case down in Tennessee where it's multiples too, where something's occurred. So I'm going to take a look at both of those cases for next week. I think both of the cases have the person is still at large. So maybe we can shed a little bit of light on that one, find out what's going on. The other one was a couple, and their 2 girls are alive. But the other one, the children were unalived. So there's 2 of them. It's really weird, bizarre. Oh, thank you, Denise. Thank you. It is interesting. There's 2 really interesting cases. I'm following them now. They're occurring in real time as we speak. These both perps are at large. So, will you guys listen? Have a great week. Roll with the punches with the astrology. It'll calm down. It'll calm down in August, but it's going to be exciting. It's exciting stuff now. So have a great week, you guys. Stay cool. It's supposed to get cool here tomorrow, a high of 80 degrees, which is wonderful for us when it's been up in the hundreds. So, which one where they were, the couple that was hiking? No, I don't. I just saw it today about the 2 young girls that lived. I can look real quick. Let me look on my phone real quick. They were hiking on a trail, a couple, and they're 2. Let me look real quick. Devil's Den. In Devil's Den in Arkansas. Devil's Den, Arkansas State Police. Devil's Den State Park in Arkansas. The family had recently moved to the area from another state, and their daughters, aged 7 and 9, are being cared for by the family. They were hiking with their young daughters when they were attacked. The couple were found unalived on the walking trail. They believe that the suspect was injured while attacking the pair, likely sustained an injury while attacking the couple. They've got a picture of him in his back, but they've got a composite sketch as well. So I'm going to look at that. Astrology Park is home to dozens of campsites. It's in West Fork, Arkansas, 11 in the Ozark National Forest. So we'll see if we can get some information on that one. But you guys have a wonderful, wonderful week. Thanks for tuning in. I couldn't do it without you all tuning in. Have a great week, and I will see you guys next Wednesday. So enjoy your week. Have a good one, and I'll see you then. Bye-bye. Thanks for tuning in.